Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Before we get to today's video, I wanted to let you know that my new book, The Ladder or the Grind, and personal exploration of career choices between employment or entrepreneurship comes out on Amazon on March 1st, 2020. In it, I go through all the decisions and factors that go into this career choice. I even interview other people who are both entrepreneurs or employees and talk to them about their choices and the paths that they chose. I hope you'll check it out. I'll have a link to it in the description below. In this lesson, I want to talk to you about not just SBA loans, but more specifically the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or the EIDL program. And the reason I'm recording this lesson is because right now in the United States, March 26, 2020, we're in the bit of an economic crisis due to the coronavirus. If you're not aware of how that is impacting the world or how it did impact the world, be sure to go back and Google it. It was a pretty big deal with lots of people sick and unfortunately lots of people dying from the disease. And it created an economic challenge in just about every single country, including the United States. And as part of that, the government wanted to stimulate the economy and encourage people to go about regular business. And so one of the things they did was increased funding for Small Business Administration, or SBA loan programs. And the most the most popular one at the time is a program that they've had in place during previous financial crises called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And I want to talk to you today a little bit about what it is and how you apply for it in case that helps you and your business stay afloat during these economic times. Some of this ties into how regular SBA loans work, and I'll try and call out those distinctions. I may be moving back and forth in this lesson, so please bear with me, but I want to get this information in your hands in case it helps your business. So some of the key things to remember about the program is as follows. You can get up to $2 million of funding through the program, but that requires collateral. If you want an unsecured or loan without any sort of collateral, the most you'll be able to get is just $25,000. Now that still may help you. That could be a line of credit that helps you with payroll and those types of things. But if you're going to need more than $25,000, you're going to need some sort of collateral. On the collateral front, the SBA is saying that they're not going to turn anyone away that does not have collateral, but you will have to give up any collateral that you have available, whether that means being able to pledge your personal residence or even something as simple as just your individual signature as a guarantor of that loan. So you're going to have collateral when you go over $25,000. The rates on these loans are significantly less than at least market rates at this time. If you have seen any of my lessons where I talk about business loan rates, lenders tend to take the rates out in the marketplace, they add a margin to that, and that's how they get to their rate. And right now, those rates are going to be higher than this EIDL program. The program is charging 3.75% for most regular businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits. So those are really competitive, really low rates. It's important, and I probably should have brought this up first, to point out that this is not a grant from the government. This is not free money. This is a loan that your business needs to anticipate being able to pay back. Also importantly about this, specifically this EIDL program, is that you have to be able to prove that these economic times are why your business is struggling. Matter of fact, when we get to talking about the forms you have to submit, you'll note that they're looking at your revenue by month to see if really and truly these economic times, the coronavirus, these type of things have really been the reason that your business is struggling. If you can't demonstrate that your business is struggling specifically because of these times, maybe you were struggling prior to these times and that shows in your cash flow and your revenue, then most likely you're not going to qualify for this EIDL program. You also won't qualify for this program if you can qualify for traditional SBA loans and things like that. So those are key distinctions to remember. Um, Great examples might be, and this is just what's popping into my head, folks, is movie theaters. Movie theaters have been disintermediated by companies like Netflix and all these online streaming services. And we have seen over time movie theater attendance go down because of that. It might be hard to argue if you were an independent movie theater operator that these specific economic times are why your business was struggling or is struggling. Certainly, you could argue that it's struggling more since a lot of businesses have been told to shut down that are non essential. But the key to this is do not think this is a grant, do not think this program is free money, and do not think that you can qualify for this just because of the SBA rubber stamping loans to help people. This is a loan to help people who can demonstrate that they're struggling because of these tough economic times. The SBA's entire mission is to help small businesses, and that's what this program's about. So next, I want to take a look at the forms with you that you're going to have to submit. So there are a variety of forms that you're going to have to be able to submit as part of an SBA loan application. Now, one thing to keep in mind about that is that some of these forms are standard forms, financial documents that you have to submit in the first place for any type of SBA loan. But today, specifically, I'm going to be looking at loan forms that the SBA says you'll have to apply for this EIDL program, okay? So this first one is Form 5, and I want you to think of it as the EIDL application form. It starts out with just some disclosures, just like any type of lender would have to do about gathering your information, your privacy, those types of things. But what I want to jump to is this third page, which is where the application starts. This is called Form 5, and it is the disaster business loan application. What I love about this is they go on to tell you right here the documents that you're going to have in order to apply for this loan. Okay. And so I'm just going to talk about them real quick. The first one says copies of the 3 most recent federal tax returns, including all your schedules. Be sure you don't just provide them the first 2 pages. You want to provide them everything. And the reason is because there are add backs, things like depreciation and interest that they will add back when they're calculating your current cash flow. So that's the first thing, 3 years of federal tax returns, and they have to be signed. That's another key thing. This is not unique to this EIDL program. This is part of any SBA loan application. Number 2 is a current business balance sheet. You can use a personal financial statement. We'll talk about that in a minute if you're a sole proprietorship. A current profit and loss statement and a current schedule of liabilities. We'll talk about that here in a second. All of these are also standard financial forms you have to provide as part of any type of SBA loan, but again, they are needed for this EIDL program. Okay, so here in number 1 and 2, we talked about financial documents associated with your business or businesses. If you have multiple, you're going to have to provide these things for each one. Here, number 3, we start talking about the owners, and this is the guarantor portion, meaning that for each owner having more than 20% interest, you have to provide a current personal financial statement on their form. It can't be your bank's form. And your most recent federal tax return. So your most recent personal federal tax return. At this time, we're not quite to the filing deadline, which has actually been pushed this year for personal tax returns. But if you have it done, you'll need to provide them your 2019 federal tax return. This is also part of a standard SBA loan application. So we haven't got to anything other than this Form 5 that we're on right now itself that is specific to this application, to the EIDL program. Okay, now let's see, I think we're on number 4. A current copy, all schedules of federal income tax return for all affiliates. So, and it goes on to explain affiliates. The way to think of this is if you have other businesses, other associated people involved in the business, a good rule is this 20% rule. You'll need to provide documentation for that. Also, it says if you're applying for physical damage. So if you've had some sort of physical damage right now, sign a verification of business property. Number 6, insurance coverage information. Now, number 7, we finally get into something that is specific, and actually 5 and 6 are specific as well to this program or these circumstances. Number 7 is applying for this program. Submit an SBA form 1368, which is additional filing requirements. I'm going to take a look at that separately here in a minute, but for now, know that what that is it's going to be a list of your revenue by month for the most recent periods, and that is how they're going to determine if you've truly been impacted by these economic times. So the rest of Form 5 is standard application stuff. It's going to be the applicant's name. This would be your business, not you. This is the trade name. If you use a different name, you'll need to have a federal EIN, ways for them to contact you through telephone and mailing, your property address, who owns the property. 16 is important. This is right here, how much money you're going to request. Remember, if you want more than $25,000, you're going to have to provide some sort of collateral, whether it's a signature, a car, equipment, real estate, those types of things. This is how long the business, excuse me. This is how long the business has been around. And then number 20 is the management, the people involved in the business. Now here, note, you're giving your social security number. They are going to pull credit on you. Be aware that that's going to happen. Here we go on this next page and you answer a lot of questions, and then you have to complete this and sign it. And then you have another signature. I'm sorry, number 26 is if someone prepares this on your behalf. So what some people are doing right now to improve their chances of getting approved for these types of loans is working with folks like myself who have SBA experience and know what the SBA is looking for, and helping to package the loan and the information in such a way to improve their chances. So if someone has completed this, they will enter that information here and the fee amount that's agreed upon. Then down here is where you, as the main business owner, will sign off on the form. Okay, let's take a look at Form 1368. All right, here I have Form 1368 for you. This is an additional document that's required for both the EIDL program, which is the one I've been talking about, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and the same program reserved for people who are in the military, okay? This form is just, looks like it's 2 pages, I think. Yep, 2 pages. And what you're gonna be doing is here, you're gonna be listing your sales figures beginning 3 years prior. Now notice that this is probably not going to hold 3 years, so you may have to sort of, it says here the total figures for each year should reconcile to the sales figures on your tax returns. Well, of course, otherwise you're going to be lying to the SBA. So you're just going to be filling out the month, the fiscal year, and what that means is, so what you're going to do is this will be January, February, and go all the way down through 12 months. This will be, for example, this will be 2020 on this side at this time. If you were in the time period I'm in, this will be 2019, 2018, 2017. And you're just going to fill out your revenue per month by year. You should have that information. Otherwise, shame on you. You're not doing a good job as a business owner keeping your financial information intact. If you're struggling with that, you could always hire an accountant or a bookkeeper to help you get things in order to submit this application. Okay. You're going to have to provide estimates. So right now we are in March in 2020. And so if that is here, your current year 2020, and this is January, and this is February, oops. Like I said, we're kind of doing this on the fly, and we get to March, but let's say down here, we get to December, you're going to have to provide some sort of estimate on what you think your revenue will be during that time. And it notes, just put an E after the number to demonstrate that it's an estimate. Fill all this out and total it. And this is what they're going to look at to see, was this business struggling beforehand, or are they truly struggling now because of the economic times? Then you're going to come down here, and it looks like this is to help you with your forecast for this right-hand column on the first page. It'll help you work through the key expenses you have to think about, and then you get an opportunity to sort of free-form fill out this information and tell them why you're struggling right now because of the coronavirus. Maybe you're a restaurant and your state has ordered curbside only, and that's reduced the amount of revenue that you've had, that would be a good thing to put in there. Let's take a look at some of the other forms you have to provide specifically as part of this EIDL program. Okay, on Form 5, the SBA EIDL application form, if you remember, we went through the additional financial documents that they're going to require from borrowers, and this is one of them. This is SBA Form 2202, and if you remember, the comment was a list of all debts that the business has. Businesses do have credit reports, just like personal credit reports. One of the companies that does that is called the SBFE, the Small Business Financial Exchange. But sometimes that information is not quite as accurate as our personal tax returns. You need to complete this form, this 2202, and what it is it's a list of all credit that the business has, not the individual. That's on your personal financial statement. This is a list of all credit or debt that the business has. So you'll just fill it out with the name of the creditor. Maybe you have a credit card with Bank of America, what the original loan amount was, the date, the current balance. You don't have to get this to the penny, but try and be as accurate as you can, whether you're current or delinquent, maturity date, what your payment amount is, and if it's collateralized at all. Maybe you have an equipment loan. You're going to list that here as well. Go through all this information and put that it's secured by a printer or something like that. So this is your schedule of liabilities. It's also called a current debt schedule, and you'll have to provide this for traditional business loans, but also this SBA EIDL program. This is your personal financial statement, and the SBA wants it on their form. That's what this is. This is their form 413, and you'll need to complete this as best you can and provide them. This is for every single owner that has 20% or more ownership in the business. This is your personal financial statement. When we look at the current debt schedule, that is for the business only. So you're going to go through this, and it's actually pretty simple. Don't let it confuse you and throw you off. You're going to fill out the date you're doing it, your personal information, and then the way you start working through this and the way this works is these are all things on this left side. These assets are all things that you have that are worth money, and they start from the most liquid to the least liquid, and they go down. So cash on hand in the banks. All I would do is sign into my online banking platform, figure out how much I have, fill that out. Same thing for savings accounts. IRA, mine is over at a financial advisory firm. Log into my platform there, get the number, plug it in, go all the way down doing these things. Now you'll notice some of these say described in section 5. Those are going to be on these subsequent pages 2 and 3. I'm sorry, it looks like 2 and 3 because schedule 8, section 8 is on 3. So here, where this ties in is on the liability side, notes payable to banks and others, described in section 2. On this first page, this is a total amount. And then you would come in, and if you have multiple notes payable to banks and others, you would fill out the details here. And this all needs to add back and go into these sections. So assets on this side, liabilities on this side, things that you owe to other people. And then you're going to total the liabilities, subtract that from your total assets, and that will give you your total liabilities and net worth, how much you're worth. If you have $300,000 in assets and you owe $200,000 to banks and other things, mortgages, that type of stuff, your net worth is in $100,000. Here, you're going to fill out what your salary is, if you have any investment income, if you have any real estate income or other, and you can describe that here. These are contingent liabilities. So let's say you're a parent and your name is on a car loan for a son or daughter. You're going to want to include that here as well. Again, this page 2 is to help break out all that information. You'll see here section 4 is all your real estate. So you can go through that information and then use it to come back up here and plug that total number in right there. And then on page 3 is any life insurance you have. Now, this is one place people make a lot of mistakes. I want to scroll back up and show it to you. Life insurance. It says cash surrender value only, but a lot of people will get thrown off by this and plug it in. Let's say you have $1 million term life policy on you. A lot of people come in and put $1 million into this field. That is not what it's asking. If you have a term policy, that is not that number does not go there at all, because that is not an asset. It is not worth any cash value. This would be specifically for whole life policies where you have built up some cash surrender value. Okay, so keep that in mind. Then finally, you're just going to sign it, date it, put your social and everything else. And then here you're just attesting to the fact that they can pull information on you. Again, we're going back through the Privacy Act, Financial Privacy Act, and other disclosures that the SBA needs to provide you. This form is the 4506T, and this is actually a form used by the IRS. This is not specific to the SBA EIDL program, but you will have to have it. It is also used in any of their traditional loan programs. And the reason I'm sharing it is because this form has to be filled out and signed by the business owner. What it does is it gives the SBA the authority to go directly to the IRS and order older copies of your tax returns. Why do they have this? In case you're giving them false information on your current and past tax returns. People have done that in the past. They've committed fraud, and the SBA just pulls their transcript of their tax return and compares it to the numbers that you've given them. And if you're misleading them, chances are you're going to get turned down for a loan. So be sure to complete this and sign it, and know that they're going to use it to pull older copies of your tax returns and compare them to the information that you provide them. Okay, guys, so I hope that information helps you. Again, this is specifically meant to be about the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm getting all kinds of questions about the program right now. Remember, some of this information does apply to traditional SBA loans. So here's what I would encourage you to do. If you feel like your business has truly suffered because of these tough economic times, then the EIDL program is perfect for you. If you do not feel like you can quantify or prove that statement, that does not mean that you cannot still go for a regular SBA loan. So I would work with someone, think about the EIDL program, but if you don't seem to qualify, or that person knows the program like myself very well and doesn't feel like you can qualify, you can still go for traditional SBA loans and still get money to help your business. I hope that information helps. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you. Have a great day.